Daf Yomi, Tractate Zevachim, page 35a, top of the page, with the words Af ani lo amarti ela shenitkaban bechli. V'haguf min hayada kohanim zrizin v'avdin hayam mishtapchin. I too said that the blood should be sprinkled only when it was collected in a vessel. The Gemara asks, but he, Rabbi Yehuda himself, from where did he know if the blood was indeed collected? The Gemara answers he relies on the fact that priests are vigilant and perform their service properly and collect all of the blood, but they work swiftly, and the blood therefore spills from the cup. The Gemara asks, but isn't the blood of exudate, which is unfit, exudate, which is unfit to be sprinkled on the altar, mixed with the blood of the soul on the floor? The Gemara answers, Rabbi Yehuda conforms to his standard line of reasoning, as he says that blood of exudate is considered blood. Titania damatamsis bazore bekores. This is, as it is taught in the Braita, blood of exudate is blood of exudate. What is that exactly? I'm guessing it's the blood that just the first exuding blood of exudate. Let's see what it is. Blood of exudate refers to sanguineous exudate, which is a type of wound fluid with the color and consistency of fresh blood. This is a normal and expected part of the initial inflammatory stage of wound healing caused by bleeding from damaged blood vessels. However, if sanguineous drainage continues excessively or for a prolonged period, it can be a sign of complications and should be monitored. Okay, blood of exudate. I guess it's like blood that comes from a wound already. I'm not sure how that's applied to the animal here, but whatever. That's what we're talking about. So Rabbi Yehuda says, so as it is taught in Braita, blood of exudate is subject to prohibition. Oh, Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's considered blood. As it is taught in Braita, blood of exudate is subject to prohibition, and one who consumes it receives lashes. This is not as severe as consuming the blood of the soul, the blood that spurts out of the animal as it's being slaughtered, or for which one is liable to receive karet. Rabbi Yehuda says one who consumes blood of exudate is liable to receive karet, as this blood is treated as proper blood. The Gemara challenges this answer, but doesn't Rabbi Elazar say that Rabbi Yehuda concedes with regard to atonement that presenting blood of exudate does not affect atonement? As it is stated, for the soul of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that makes atonement by reason of the soul. Leviticus 17:11. Dam shenefesh yotzeh bo koridam, she'ein nefesh yotzeh bo ein koridam. This verse indicates that blood with which the soul leaves the animal, the initial spurting, the spurt that immediately upon slaughter, is called blood, but blood with which the soul does not leave the animal, for example, blood of exudate, is not called blood. I don't know why it's not called blood. I mean, it's blood, but they're saying it's not called blood. If so, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, blood of exudate is unfit for presenting upon the altar, and collecting blood from the floor should therefore be ineffective. Ella Rabbi Yehuda letameh amar ein dam mevatil dam. Rather, Rabbi Yehuda conforms to his line of reasoning, as he says, blood does not nullify blood. Therefore, the blood in the cup that is fit for sprinkling on the altar is not nullified by the blood of exudate, and the entire mixture may be sprinkled on the altar. Amar lahem Yehuda divreichem lama pokikin azarei amru loi shevachu levnei Aaron shihalchu ad al kubosehen badam. The Gemara recites the continuation of the Braita. Arkubosehen isn't Karsulai? Karsulai is the ankle. Why is saying Arkabul? Okay, anyway. The Gemara cites the continuation of the Braita. Yehuda said to the rabbis, according to your statement, that the mixed blood on the floor may not be used, why do they plug the drain of the temple courtyard on Passover Eve and not allow the blood to flow out through it? The rabbi said to him, it is a source of praise for the sons of Aaron that they should walk in blood up to their ankles, thereby demonstrating their love for the temple service. Oh, they plug up the drains so that they want the blood to be all around there because you're walking in the blood. There's power in the blood. V'ha'adam have'et chatzitza lachu v'lo have chatzitza ditnan adam v'hadayo hadvash v'chalav yiveshin chotzitzin lachin ein chotzitzin. The Gemara challenges, but the blood is an interposition between the feet of the priests and the floor of the temple. And this should invalidate the service. The Gemara explains the blood is moist and is therefore not an interposition, as we learned in a Braita with regard to blood, ink, honey, and milk. When they are dry, they interpose, but when they are moist, they do not interpose. Mitavsi manayu itnana yirgad mitushtashin ve'avad avodas besulav hitem dimadlo ve'atanya mido kemidato shelo yichasev shelo yirosim ve'lochas devarim kevesh dilav avodah. The Gemara asks further, but don't their garments become soiled? As we learned in the Braita, if a priest's garments were soiled, and he performed the temple rite while wearing them, his right is disqualified. And if you would say that they raise their garments so that they would stay clean, but isn't it taught in the Braita, and the priest shall put on his linen garment, midovad, Leviticus 6:3. Term mido, literally, his measure, teaches that his garment must be according to his measure, kemidato, that it should not be too short, and that it should not be too long. If the priest raises his garment, it will no longer be exactly his size. The Gemara answers that the priests would walk in the blood only while carrying the sacrificial limbs to the ramp of the altar, which is not actually a rite, but only preparation for a rite. Villa, Ve'atanya, Ikra Kohen Zagol, Zohadach Zevorim Negevish, Elabach Hazetzim Lamarocha de la Voidahi, Villa Voidahech Asli, A'itz Deve. The Gemara asks, and is it not one of the rites, but isn't it taught in a Braita, and the priest shall bring it all and burn it upon the altar, Leviticus 1:13. This is referring to the carrying of the limbs to the ram. Rather, the priests would walk in the blood only while carrying wood to the arrangement of wood on the altar, which is not a rite. The Gemara asks, but if the floor of the temple was full of blood, how do they walk to perform the actual rites without soiling their garments? The Gemara answers, they would walk on platforms raised above the floor so that the blood would not reach their garments. I guess it would only get up to their ankles. Okay. And that's the end of that. Now we start a new Mishnah. We're starting in a Mishnah. We're starting in a Mishnah. We're starting in a Mishnah. Shochet. Es hazevach lechol lo shein dag lechol. Ulach to do shein dag lach to kosher. Rabbi Eliezer posel. In the case of one who slaughters an offering with the intent to eat beyond its designated time or outside its designated area, an item whose typical manner is such that one does not partake of it, meaning the portions of the offering consumed on the altar, or with the intent to burn beyond its designated time or outside its designated time, an item whose typical manner is such that one does not burn it on the altar, for example, the meat of the offering is fit, and Rabbi Eliezer deems it unfit. Lechol davar shedarka lechol, ulach davar shedarka lachtil, pachas mikazayis kosher, lechol kachatzi zayis, ulachtil kachatzi zayis kosher, she'en achila v'aktorah mitzdarafim. One who slaughters an offering with the intent to eat beyond its designated time or outside its designated area, an item whose typical manner is such one does partake of it, or with the intent to burn beyond its designated time or outside its designated area. An item whose typical manner is such that one does burn it on the altar, but his intent was to partake or burn less than an olive bulk, the offering is fit. If his intent was to eat half an olive bulk and to burn half an olive bulk beyond its designated time or outside its designated area, the offering is fit because eating and burning do not join together. Ashochet es hazevach lechol kazayis no umin ha'otev umin ha'kefa umin ha'alal umin ha'atzamot umin הגידין ומן הקרניים ומן הטלפים חוץ לזמנו וחוץ למקומו כאשר ואין חייבים עליהן משום פיגול ונותר לטמא. In the case of one who slaughters an offering with the intent to eat beyond its designated time or outside its designated area, an olive bulk from the hide or from the gravy or from the spices that amass at the bottom of the pot together with small amounts of meat, or from a tendon in the neck, or from the bones, or from the tendons, or from the horns, or from the hooves, the offering is fit, and one is not liable to receive karet for it, neither due to the prohibition of pigul, if the sacrificial rites are performed with the intent to partake of the offering beyond its designated time, nor due to the prohibition of leftover meat beyond its designated time, nor due to the prohibition against partaking of the meat while ritually impure. Ashochet es hamukdashin lechol shelil o shilya bachutz lo pigel hamolech es hatoirin lechol beitzeyen bachutz lo pigel. In the case of one who slaughters sacrificial female animals with the intent to eat the fetus of those animals in their placenta outside of the designated area, he has not rendered the offering pigul. Likewise, in the case of one who pinches doves, meaning slaughters them for sacrifice by cutting the napes of their necks with his fingernail, with the intent to eat their eggs that are still in their bodies outside the designated area, he has not rendered the offering pigul. This is because the fetus, the placenta, and the eggs are not considered part of the body of the animal or the bird. Chalev mukdashin ubeitzei toirin ein chavala mishum pigul. For the same reason, one who consumes the milk of sacrificial female animals or the eggs of doves is not liable to receive karet for it, neither due to the prohibition of pigul, nor due to the prohibition of notar, nor due to the prohibition of partaking of the meat while ritually impure. That's the Mishnah. Now the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Elazar, pigul zevach, nispagel shlil, v'shlil lo nispagel zevach, pigel ba'alal, nispagla, mura, b'mura, lo nispagel alal. Rabbi Elazar says, if one renders an offering pigul by slaughtering it with the intent to partake of it beyond its designated time, its feet, this is rendered pigul as well. And one who eats it is liable to receive karet. But if he intended to partake of the fetus beyond its designated time, the offering has not been rendered pigul. Likewise, if he rendered a bird offering pigul by having intent to partake of a tendon in the neck, which is edible, beyond its designated time, then the crop of the bird is rendered pigul as well, although it is not considered an item that is usually eaten, since there are people who eat it. But if he intended to partake of the crop beyond its designated time, then a tendon in the neck is not rendered pigul. Pigel be'morim nispaglu borim be'borim nispaglu borim. If he rendered the offering pigul, meaning had improper intent by intending to burn the sacrificial portions that are consumed on the altar beyond their designated time, then the rest of the bulls are rendered pigul. Therefore, if one partakes of their meat, he is liable to receive karet due to the prohibition of pigul. But if he intended to partake of the rest of the bulls beyond their designated time, since pigul does not apply to them, as they are not destined to be consumed on the altar or to be eaten, the sacrificial portions that are consumed on the altar are not rendered pigul. Lema misayele v'shavim she'im chishev v'achilas parim v'schefosan lo yasadu leklum. Ma'ilav hachishev v'morim nispaglu parim nispaglu parim lo. The Gemara suggests, let us say, that the following Braita supports the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, and even those who hold that pigul applies to the bulls that are burned agree that if he intended to partake of the bulls or to burn them beyond their designated time, he did not do anything. This is because these bulls are not eaten or burned on the altar, and intentions can render an offering pigul only in the cases of offerings that are eaten or burned on the altar. The Gemara infers, what is this not possible to infer that if he intended with regard to the sacrificial portions of the bulls that are consumed on the altar to burn them beyond their designated time, the bulls are rendered pigul, which is in accordance with the statement of Rabbi Elazar? The Gemara rejects this. No. Now we turn to 35b. No, derived instead as follows. But if he intended, with regard to the sacrificial portions of the bulls, to burn them beyond their designated time, the sacrificial portions themselves are rendered pigul, and one is liable to receive karet for eating them. The flesh of the bulls is never rendered pigul. And we'll stop here. This is going to be Daf A, and then we'll start back with Daf B.